Let me tell you something most people are too weak to admit. The world doesn't respect nice people. The world respects people who refuse to tolerate disrespect. The moment you allow it, you train everyone around you to treat you like you're disposable. Today, I'm breaking down 5 types of disrespect that powerful people never tolerate. If you're serious about winning in life, these are the lines you never let anyone cross. Quick pause for a second. If you're tired of being the person people underestimate, talk over, or take advantage of, make sure you're paying attention to every point here, because learning to recognize disrespect is step 1. But learning to shut it down is what changes your entire life. And trust me, the next 2 types are the ones that quietly destroy people's confidence for years. One of the most common forms of disrespect hides behind something that looks harmless: humor. People will throw an insult your way, then immediately disguise it with a laugh and the phrase, "Relax, it's just a joke." But the reality is that most of the time, it isn't a joke at all. It's a test. It's a way for someone to see how much they can get away with without facing consequences. When someone repeatedly makes comments that belittle your intelligence, your choices, your appearance, or your ambitions, and then hides behind humor, they are slowly chipping away at your position. If you laugh it off every time, they learn something important about you. They learn that you will tolerate it. Disrespect disguised as humor works because it puts the target in a difficult position. If you react strongly, the other person claims you are too sensitive. If you stay silent, they assume the behavior is acceptable. This tactic allows them to undermine you while avoiding accountability. Over time, the comments often become sharper and more frequent because the person feels safe continuing the behavior. What began as a small joke gradually turns into a pattern of subtle humiliation. Confident individuals recognize this pattern quickly. They understand that respect is not about being aggressive or starting arguments, but about refusing to let someone normalize disrespect. The moment a so-called joke crosses the line, it needs to be addressed calmly and clearly. Not with anger, not with emotional reactions, but with firmness. When people realize their attempts to hide insults behind humor won't work on you, they immediately rethink how they speak around you. Respect often begins the moment tolerance for disguised disrespect ends. Time is the one resource every person on earth receives in equal measure, yet it is also the most disrespected. When someone treats your time carelessly, they are revealing how little they value you. This form of disrespect often appears in subtle ways. Someone constantly shows up late to meet you, but somehow manages to be on time for people they consider important. Someone cancels plans at the last minute with weak excuses. Someone drags you into conversations, meetings, or commitments that serve no real purpose except to consume your hours. On the surface, these actions might look like small inconveniences, but over time they communicate a very clear message. Your time is not a priority. People who move through life with purpose understand that every minute carries value. Successful individuals plan their days, organize their goals, and protect their schedules because time once lost can never be recovered. When another person repeatedly wastes that time, they are not just being careless. They are showing a lack of respect for your priorities, your work, and your direction in life. Many people tolerate this behavior because they want to appear polite or easygoing. They convince themselves that being patient will eventually earn respect. In reality, constant tolerance often produces the opposite result. When someone sees that you allow them to waste your time without consequences, they begin to assume that your time is flexible and disposable. The pattern continues because nothing forces it to change. Individuals who command respect treat their time like a valuable asset. They set expectations about punctuality, reliability, and commitment. If someone repeatedly fails to meet those expectations, access to their time becomes limited. The principle is simple. People who cannot respect your time eventually lose the privilege of sharing it. Boundaries are the invisible lines that separate what is acceptable from what is not. And one of the clearest signs of disrespect is when someone repeatedly ignores or violates them. Everyone has limits, whether it's personal space, emotional availability, professional standards, or moral lines. And those who push past them are testing your willingness to enforce consequences. At first, boundary violations may appear small, a comment that goes too far, a request that feels uncomfortable, or repeated interruptions. But the danger lies in the pattern. If allowed to continue unchecked, it signals to the other person that your boundaries are optional, not rules. People who fail to respect boundaries are often seeking control. They want to see how far they can push you without resistance. Each ignored limit is a small victory for them, and each tolerated violation chips away at your confidence and authority. Many individuals respond with frustration, arguing, or emotional outbursts, but those approaches rarely enforce real respect. Strong individuals take a different approach. They communicate their boundaries clearly, enforce them consistently, and apply consequences when limits are crossed. This doesn't require aggression, it requires clarity, consistency, and self-respect. The moment you stop allowing repeated violations, the dynamic changes. People begin to recognize which behaviors are unacceptable, and your boundaries regain their weight. Those who continue testing you will find themselves distanced or excluded because disrespect cannot coexist with self-respect. Enforcing boundaries is not about being confrontational. It's about demonstrating that your standards are non-negotiable and that anyone unwilling to honor them is not welcome in your life. Respect begins where your boundaries are defended. Nothing exposes a person's true character faster than what they do in public, and public undermining is one of the most damaging forms of disrespect. This happens when someone deliberately tries to make you look small, foolish, or incompetent in front of others, whether through interrupting you, mocking your ideas, or subtly questioning your authority. Unlike private criticism, which can sometimes be constructive, public undermining is designed to lower your status while elevating theirs. It's a calculated move, and it's intended to test how much control they can exert over your image and reputation. The people who engage in this behavior are often insecure or competitive. They believe that if they can make you look weak or unimportant in front of others, they gain power by comparison. This is especially dangerous because it doesn't just hurt your ego in the moment. It can damage your credibility, influence, and confidence over time. Many tolerate it, hoping it will stop or thinking it's easier to ignore than confront. But ignoring it only reinforces the pattern, signaling to them that you accept being diminished publicly. High-value individuals understand this immediately. They don't overreact, yell, or create drama, but they also do not allow it to continue. They address the behavior calmly and directly, making it clear that disrespect in public will not be tolerated. By doing so, they reclaim control over their image and set a precedent that undermining tactics have consequences. The lesson is clear. Respect in private is meaningless if you allow public humiliation, because perception and influence in front of others are far too valuable to surrender. Manipulation and gaslighting are the most insidious forms of disrespect because they attack your perception of reality and your sense of self. Unlike overt insults or obvious boundary violations, this form of disrespect is subtle and calculated. Someone will twist your words, deny things they clearly said, or present events in a way that makes you question your memory and judgment. Over time, this constant distortion erodes confidence, leaving you feeling confused, anxious, and second-guessing your own instincts. The goal is control. Once you start doubting yourself, it becomes easier for the manipulator to influence your decisions, shape your emotions, and dominate interactions without direct confrontation. Many people fail to recognize manipulation until it has already taken root. They try to argue, explain, or justify themselves, often feeling drained and frustrated in the process. The manipulator thrives on this reaction. It confirms that their tactics are working. Strong, high-value individuals respond differently. They trust their instincts, recognize the signs of gaslighting early, and refuse to participate in endless mental games. The key is to maintain clarity and distance. When someone repeatedly twists reality to serve their agenda, engaging in back-and-forth arguments only reinforces the disrespect and gives them more opportunities to control the narrative. Respecting yourself means refusing to let others destabilize your mind or identity. Enforcing boundaries against manipulation protects your mental and emotional energy. Those who attempt to gaslight you are not allies. They are threats to your confidence and your life's trajectory. Recognizing manipulation, maintaining firm boundaries, and distancing yourself when necessary is the ultimate demonstration that your reality and your self-worth are non-negotiable. Disrespect in this form is not a challenge to tolerate. It's a signal to act decisively. Energy drainers are people who, intentionally or not, constantly sap your mental, emotional, and sometimes physical strength. These are individuals who always focus on negativity, complaining incessantly, criticizing everything you do, or dragging you into their problems without regard for your capacity. Unlike a simple disagreement or occasional frustration, energy drainers create a persistent pattern that leaves you feeling depleted, frustrated, and even doubting yourself over time. This kind of disrespect is subtle because it doesn't always involve overt insults or boundary violations, but it is just as damaging because it slowly chips away at your focus, motivation, and confidence. Many people tolerate energy drainers because they feel obligated. Friends, family, or colleagues, they convince themselves that listening, empathizing, or helping is a virtue. But in reality, constant exposure to negativity without reciprocity is not kindness, it's exploitation. The person is treating your emotional energy as if it's limitless and disposable. Allowing it teaches them that you will accept being drained, and the pattern intensifies. High-value individuals recognize energy drainers quickly. They understand that your time, attention, and emotional bandwidth are finite and valuable. Respecting yourself means managing your interactions and setting clear boundaries. You don't need to cut off every negative person, but you do need to limit the impact they have on your life. Whether through distance, selective engagement, or clear expectations, enforcing these boundaries prevents your energy from being hijacked. People who consistently drain you are demonstrating disrespect for your internal resources, and refusing to tolerate it is a key step toward preserving strength, focus, and personal power. Conditional respect is one of the most toxic forms of disrespect because it reveals that the person's regard for you is not genuine. It only exists when you serve their interests. These are individuals who treat you well, listen to you, or acknowledge your value only when they need something from you: money, favors, attention, or status. The moment you stop providing what they want, the respect disappears. Compliments vanish, support dries up, and sometimes the behavior even turns hostile. Unlike outright insults, conditional respect is subtle, often leaving you confused or questioning whether you did something wrong. The lesson here is simple: respect that depends on what you give is not real respect. Many people tolerate this behavior because they hope it will change, or because they value the relationship too much to confront it. But tolerating conditional respect trains the other person to see your worth as negotiable. They begin to assume that your loyalty, attention, or kindness is always available when convenient for them, and they have no incentive to treat you as an equal. Over time, this dynamic can undermine confidence, create resentment, and erode self-esteem. High-value individuals recognize conditional respect immediately. They understand that real respect is consistent, not situational, and that their value does not fluctuate based on someone else's needs. The response is not emotional retaliation, but a clear recalibration of the relationship. They either establish firm boundaries, demand consistency, or distance themselves from those who refuse to honor them. By refusing to tolerate conditional respect, you demonstrate that your value is constant, non-negotiable, and deserving of authentic acknowledgement, regardless of what you can provide. Silent dismissal is one of the most subtle but damaging forms of disrespect because it communicates worthlessness without a single word. It happens when someone ignores your presence, disregards your ideas, or pretends that what you contribute doesn't matter. Unlike open conflict, which can at least be confronted and resolved, silent dismissal erodes confidence quietly and systematically. It makes you question whether you belong, whether your voice matters, and even whether your perspective has any value. Over time, this kind of behavior can quietly shape your self-image, leaving you doubting your abilities and shrinking your own presence. Many tolerate silent dismissal because it's passive, it doesn't feel like an attack, and confronting it can seem awkward or even impossible. But ignoring it allows the behavior to continue unchecked. The person who consistently dismisses you is sending a message. Your ideas, your time, and your energy are optional to them. This is particularly dangerous because it often occurs in professional or social settings where reputation and influence matter. Tolerating it teaches others that you can be overlooked without consequence, and once that perception takes root, it spreads. High-value individuals recognize silent dismissal immediately. They don't respond with anger, but they do respond with action. They assert themselves in ways that demand acknowledgement. They redirect energy toward those who value them, and they minimize interactions with people who consistently ignore or undervalue them. Respect in any form is earned through recognition of your presence and contributions, and anyone who silently dismisses you is demonstrating blatant disrespect. The solution is clarity and selective engagement. Refuse to invest in people who treat your presence as invisible and make your value undeniable through the way you carry yourself and the standards you enforce. Now, let me make this crystal clear. Disrespect is not negotiable. You get one life, and the way people treat you determines everything: your confidence, your influence, your opportunities. The 5 types we've talked about, disguised jokes, wasted time, boundary violations, public undermining, and manipulation, aren't just annoyances. They're tests, they're signals, they're warnings, and the moment you tolerate them, you've already lost. High-value individuals don't argue endlessly. They don't beg for respect. They set rules, enforce boundaries, and make the consequences undeniable. People adjust when they realize crossing the line is no longer an option. Your value isn't determined by how much you give, how polite you are, or how passive you remain. It's determined by the standards you enforce. From this moment forward, refuse to accept behavior that diminishes you. Cut out the energy drainers, call out the manipulators, guard your time like gold, protect your mind, your presence, and your reputation. Because when you do, people stop testing you. They start respecting you. And that, my friends, is how you reclaim control of your life and rise above the noise. Respect isn't given. It's earned by refusing to tolerate anything less than what you deserve. True power comes from helping selectively, not indiscriminately. Giving without thought may feel noble, but it often weakens you more than it strengthens anyone else. When you hand out your time, energy, or resources to everyone who asks, you dilute their value and expose yourself to exploitation. People aren't naturally loyal or grateful. They respond to signals. When help is unlimited and unconditional, it communicates weakness, not strength. Selective helping flips that dynamic. It shows that your generosity is earned, that access to your support is a privilege, and that you control the terms of engagement. This doesn't mean you become selfish or cold. It means you become strategic. You empower those who deserve it, those who demonstrate character, integrity, and the capacity to respect your investment. You deny those who would take advantage or betray your trust, reducing risk and increasing influence. Helping selectively also trains others to value your contributions instead of taking them for granted. Over time, it creates a network of loyalty, respect, and mutual benefit rather than blind dependency. True power isn't about giving to everyone, it's about giving where it matters, maximizing impact, and protecting yourself from exploitation. When you help selectively, you transform generosity from vulnerability into a tool of influence. You maintain control over your life, your resources, and your energy, while others learn that trust, respect, and opportunity are earned, not freely handed out. That is how leaders operate, and how the strong survive betrayal while still offering value.